In the most recent MiceAge article over on MiceChat, they spent some time discussing some new information regarding Star Wars Land. If accurate, it could be cause for optimism, perhaps? Excitement? I don't know. But the most interesting and fun thing the article provided was a brilliant before and after slider image. There are two actually, one with a live look and then one with kind of like an artist rendering. There is a link in the description below to the article so you can play around with the sliders yourself, but let's discuss now some of the things this new image is illuminating for us. Star Wars Land looks enormous. My eyeballs are telling me it's clearly bigger than any other land in the park, yet there are only 2 attractions so far. But these are not small attractions though. The show buildings for, let's say, the Battle Escape attraction is clearly bigger than anything we've seen to date, bigger than Haunted Mansion or Indiana Jones. This means a roller coaster, if you ask me. Simulators don't need that much space, and this is outstanding news. Especially for me personally, because I am a huge proponent, or I should say opponent, of simulators as, you know, as an e-ticket, and I'm glad to see that they've made room for an actual roller coaster. Maybe not. It doesn't even have to be a roller coaster, but something that moves, something that requires space, and not just you in front of a screen or a monitor. There is a walkway that appears to be an extension of the path guests walk between New Orleans Square and Critter Country. It looks like it kind of hugs the rivers of America with the Hungry Bear on the left, and it also looks like to be a very scenic walk, as there is nothing being built between Hungry Bear and Star Wars Land, according to the image. Now, this is one area where I'm really excited to experience firsthand. Disney has an ability to create peace and beauty in an area that wouldn't normally have it, and that's what impresses me the most about a lot of places in Disneyland. And this will be something to really behold, I think, when we finally get to see it. It looks like Big Thunder Trail is surviving, and in fact, it looks to be an exceptional buffer between Star Wars Land and Frontierland. There's a very large gap between Star Wars Land proper and Frontierland. Same for Fantasyland as well, actually. And I expect that there will be copious amounts of trees between these two lands. You won't be able to see or hear Star Wars Land from anywhere else in the park by all accounts. In fact, I mean, by the looks of this image and you know what we're hearing about the way the buffer is going to be, it almost feels like it could be considered a separate park. I mean, it's not a third gate, but it's definitely separate from the rest of Disneyland. Also, actually, according to the article, the tree lines will extend all the way around the land, so you won't be able to see it even from the street. And this means hopefully that we won't have a repeat of the Cadillac Range disaster at Cars Land, where you can barely clearly see the backside of the land from the street, and it looks awful. It's one of the worst things that it's a crime. It's a crime against Disney theming. Now, there had been some doubt as to whether or not the Fantasyland Theater would be removed for Star Wars Land. Well, it appears that the Disneyland Railroad tracks connect with the old route right before Mickey and the Magical Map Show, and the theater is going to be spared. This is great news also, in my opinion, as Disneyland is absolutely a better place with shows like this going on. I've long maintained that we need more stuff like this, more live stuff, more, I don't know, organic, attractions and less rides. The dependence on rides, especially roller coasters, I think is something that we can leave to places like Knott's or Universal or Magic Mountain. Which brings me back to the images. Lots of space appears to be set aside for meet and greets in the actual Star Wars Land. Also dining, shops, and something that they're calling a village. I don't know what that is. In fact, I'd guess that, or my eyeballs are saying maybe 60 to 70% of the total area for Star Wars Land is going to be non-ride related. That's really cool, you guys. That's really cool. It's a very positive development, and again, it leads me to believe that it's going to be rich with environment, as opposed to just show buildings and entrance queues and exit queues. I've spotted 3 ways into the land. One from Critter Country, one from Big Thunder Trail in Frontierland, and one in Fantasyland. Actually, the Fantasyland entrance is also technically on Big Thunder Trail, just on that very beginning of the trail. Now, what I'm seeing here are these paths are beige. Those are the walk paths, the foot paths. And what I want to know is, what is that extending from Big Thunder Trail on the Fantasyland side, right next to the land entrance? My mind wants to make it a tunnel. I really want it to be a tunnel. But more likely, I think that is maintenance or backstage, as that's actually where there is backstage area now. So it looks like Fantasmic will no longer be stored on Tom Sawyers Island. There's a huge area set aside right on the border of Star Wars land. And there's similarly colored, those brown areas all around and extending the length of the river. I mean, that's got to be maintenance or backstage, right? Possibly underground. That's set up for Fantasmic. Finally, some were speculating that up to 40% of Tom Sawyers Island would be lost. But if the image presented is correct, it looks more like maybe 20%. And it looks to me like only the area past Fort Wilderness, i.e. the areas that were already unavailable to guests. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to have the same exact experience that we're having on Tom Sawyers Island now. I mean, it'll be close to it. More close than I think a lot of people think. Some people thought they were just getting rid of it altogether. But what it looks like is that back end area will be used to stage, what is it, Mike Fink's cabin, and possibly one of the Native Americans on a horse, I believe. There's one down there, right? But anyway, so part of the back end of the island will still be closed off to guests so that they can stage those areas. But for the most part, I would say that the Tom Sawyers Island experience is going to be 90% of what you had before. What you're going to miss is the actual Fort Wilderness, which we couldn't access anyway, and that little pirate's corner back there with the fake treasure, which was just dumb as heck anyway. So I won't miss that at all. Oh, and also you can see that the area set aside for the Native American village looks quite a bit smaller. I mean, really small, actually, when you look at them together. I don't know if that's intentional, that it's going to be really half the size, because, my memory says that the Native American village that's there today wasn't very big. But that picture, I mean, the image and the before image looks pretty big to me, so maybe there's, space behind it. But as long as we still get to see what we saw before, I think we'll be good. Yeah, so all in all, I see a lot to be excited about with these images. Certainly not a lot to be upset about, right? I feel like each bit of information that comes out will get everyone closer and closer to acceptance, which is good, and then anticipation and excitement. So far, I'm feeling pretty positive about things. The only thing that's bumming me out, obviously, is the time lost, for the Rivers of America and Big Thunder Ranch. But, I mean, time is what it is. That's going to be a year from now. We waited that long for Big Thunder. We waited almost that long for Matterhorn, so it's not so bad. Anyway, tell us what you think, Fresh Bake. Does this impress you at all? Let us know in the comments below, and until next time, Fresh Bake!